Ghana says it will fine airlines $3,500 for each passenger who arrives in the country without being fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Under new measures taking effect on Wednesday, air carriers will also be penalised the same amount for travellers who did not fill out a health declaration form before boarding their flight to Kotoka International Airport in Accra. The measures are just the latest taken by Ghana, which has introduced some of the strictest coronavirus-related restrictions in West Africa. The new penalties come a day after the country began requiring all passengers over the age of 18 to provide evidence of full vaccination against COVID-19. Ghana says that about 60% of the total new cases recorded in the country have actually come from the airport during a recent two-week period. With a population of about 31 million people, Ghana has one of the best COVID-19 testing programs in the region. It has recorded 132,000 confirmed cases and 1,243 deaths since the pandemic began. Now, to talk more about this, we're joined by Ghana journalist Elvis Darko, who is the editor of the Finder newspaper. He joins us via Zoom. A very good evening to you, Elvis. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So let's just first start with what exactly the government has announced and the reasons for it.
Well, in actual fact, Ghana has decided to speed up vaccination in the country. So the month of December was declared as the month of vaccination. So the vaccination exercise has been taken to the next level in Ghana, where the Ghana Health Service is doing a massive vaccination across the country. And while this was happening, the Omicron virus was detected at the airport. And looking at the history of Ghana, the virus came in. First person that was identified in Ghana was a traveler who was returning to Ghana. So the cases in terms of COVID in Ghana were largely imported into this country. And after Ghana decided to do antigen tests at the airport, a lot of people were bringing in the virus. And if you look at the data at the airport, you realize that if the antigen test had not been centered at the airport, the situation could have been worse than it is, because you'll see that the data clearly showed that several people had arrived in Ghana with the virus. And as a result, government has maintained the testing regime at the airport and has also not opened the land borders ever since they were closed in March 2020. We are yet to open the land borders. And looking at the impact of the pandemic on the economy, the government fears that should Omicron get out of hand, it will have a serious consequences for the economy. And as a result, measures have been tightened at the airport that everybody entering Ghana now must come as a fully vaccinated person, especially 18 years and above. And even with that, you will still have to go through the antigen test to ensure that you are not positive before you are allowed into the country. And this new measure has sparked some controversy in the country, because there are people who are arguing that the new measures infringes on their rights, because they believe that it is their fundamental human right to decide to have a vaccine or not. And that is what currently we are having as a discussion in Ghana. Some individuals and some right groups have started protesting against the new measures that have been introduced. And therefore, some have decided that they will actually not travel out of the country because they actually do not want to take the vaccine.
Some clarity here. So this rule, this threat of a fine on airlines, basically refers to foreigners and not Ghanaians. What about Ghanaians who fly into the country and who do not meet these requirements? What happens to them? Are they forced into quarantine?
No, the Ghanaians who have already traveled out of the country before the new rules took effect have been given some reprieve, that from now to those who left the country within 14 days from the midnight of December 12 are exempted from these particular initiative. It means that anyone who leaves the country after that will definitely not escape, and therefore the fine will apply to the same person, whether you are a Ghanaian or foreigner. For now, it is only a temporary exemption for Ghanaians who left the country before the new measures took effect, and they have been given some exemption. It means that those who do not fall within the exemption period, the fine will apply to them as well.
The 60% of rises in cases of COVID-19 in Ghana, as you say, are as a result of people who had left the country and who are now entering Ghana airspace, or rather Ghanaian space. What is, it happens during a time when there are a lot of sensitivities around travel bans. We know that Southern African countries have borne the brunt of that because Omicron was first identified here. Do you know where these people were flying from and if they had tested negative when they left whichever country?
Yeah, the result, as this particular regime is just taking effect, what had happened in the earlier regime was that there are people who tested negative from their countries of departure, and when they arrive here and they are tested, they tested positive. And some people actually raised concerns, how come they could test negative from where they are coming from, and when they arrived in Ghana, they tested positive. So that incident actually happened in the previous directives. For now, this particular new directive just took effect. So we are yet to see the data to determine whether people who are arriving in the country are coming with negative test and on arrival test positive. Maybe in the coming weeks, we'll begin to look at the data and we'll begin to see if some of these things are happening.
Is there evidence from what the government says of airlines flouting rules on ensuring that people have either vaccinated or had COVID-19 tests or signed the forms that the health department requires?
No, for now, we are yet to get evidence as to since when the new rules took effect, people actually were coming in with passengers who actually, in fact, by the new rules, it's going to be difficult for an airline to even bring in a passenger who is not tested, because they are supposed to actually check the PCR test through a global platform to determine even the result the person is holding is found in that database to ensure that the person actually has a genuine test. This to ensure that people who are carrying fake tests can also be easily detected. So it will be difficult for an airline to actually decide to carry someone who is not vaccinated and who does not have a genuine test. And actually the country has actually imposed the obligation on the airline that even if the traveler is illiterate and cannot even check, the airline must do that on behalf of the traveler and ensure that the person has a genuine PCR test result before bringing in the passenger. And that is why the country is saying that if the airline should fail to do all this and bring in someone who is not vaccinated, then the airline will be charged for $3,500 per each passenger that does not have the vaccination.
I was just finally, the reason why Ghana has such a low number of COVID-19 cases, is it just because government has been strict in protocol measures, or are Ghanaians doing something extra to protect themselves from infection? Are they doing anything extraordinary besides the non-pharmaceutical interventions and observing them?
No, I think what helped from the beginning was that the president actually set up a committee to manage the situation. And the leader of the committee is somebody who has been with the WHO for several years, who has been made the leader of the committee. And therefore, consistently, the committee has reviewed operations to the extent that major social events like funerals, marriages, and things that could be areas where this disease can easily spread. Consistently for almost a year, the country actually placed a ban on some of these things to the extent that those who flouted it in instances, some big churches where people were even arrested and taken to court for persecution. So the enforcement protocol, even though I will not say that it is 100%, the fact that people see that some people have been arrested and taken to court for prosecuting simply because they broke COVID rules actually made it possible for people to actually obey. It's true, you go around town and you may see people walking on the street without their mask, but the fact is that for gatherings where a lot of people will be there to spread the virus, we managed to control that. This happened because we experienced outbreaks in the earlier stages where when the contact tracing was done, it was traced to gatherings such as parties and funerals and other places. And therefore, the government made sure that they do a certain level of enforcement to ensure that churches do not congregate, mosques do not congregate. And I believe that this ban on public gatherings largely was responsible for the low cases in Ghana.
All right, Elvis, we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you very much. Elvis Darko is a journalist speaking to us from Ghana. He is the editor of the Finder newspaper. So great leadership, he says, including enforcement of those who flout the laws, but also compliance with the laws.